So Bektemir Melikuziev gets absolutely starched by Gabe Rosado in the third round. And this is probably the highlight win of Gabe Rosado's career, and it's against a 7-0 prospect. Many people have given their interpretation of how this KO came about. Some very good videos with very valid points, but from what I saw in this fight, it can be broken down fairly easily. I had seen Melikuziev fight twice prior to watching this fight, and I'd seen, I think it was the Morgan Fitch and the Clay Collard fights, and I watched these earlier this year when Melikuziev was scheduled to fight Kovalev back in January. And my assessment after watching those fights with Melikuziev was that he clearly retained a lot of his amateur tendencies and a lot of his amateur style, which, to be honest, is to be expected from a fighter who is just 7 fights deep into their pro career. But also what was telling was this karate background that Bektemir has. And it shows itself in this habit he has of bouncing and having a rhythm step and trying to lead with power shots and essentially just pot-shotting his way to victory. For those of you who don't know, rhythm stepping it's a bit of an idiosyncrasy that a lot of boxers have, and it's probably one of the most common weaknesses amongst boxers because it's so easy to time. It's a kind of bounce in, bounce out motion, and Melikuziev, he does it a lot, and he just generally has a very on the toes kind of style. To break down each round of this fight with Rosado, in the first round, I saw that in the first few seconds, Rosado was able to extend himself a bit more. As far as I can see, he had a fairly decent height and reach advantage over Melikuziev, and he was just able to get his arms out a bit further and meet meet Melikuziev's lead glove. Melikuziev, he seemed to be a bit within himself. He wasn't taking his head off the center line. He wasn't very dynamic in his stance. He wasn't changing positions and making himself a moving target and kind of using his eyes to see where he could land a shot or set up a shot. But when he would throw punches, he just seemed to have this quite blatant over-reliance on the left hook to the body coming from a southpaw stance. And he landed it numerous times. I feel like he hurt Gabe Rosado. Gabe Rosado, he dipped over a little bit, he folded over. But he's quite experienced, so not only is he physically tough, but he knows not to give these things away. But after a few seconds, Rosado was backed up against the ropes, got caught with another left hook to the body, but then Bektemir followed up with a right hook to the head. Very tight and neat shots and quite accurate as well. And Rosado took a knee. A few seconds later, the round finished. Going into round 2, Bektemir, he made more of an effort to start probing with his lead right hand, but there was still no effort from him to take his head off the center line. So you can tell that's a bad habit of his. He's very upright. Good body work by Bektemir though, but it's still a reliance on pot shotting. Very single layered offense. He'll be in his stance and he'll be at a distance and he'll just kind of fly out and in an attempt to land these powerful shots. That's what pot shotting is. It can work, but only works at a certain level. In the break between round 2 and round 3, so leading into round 3, Joel Diaz, who is Bektemir's coach, he was telling him more straight shots, stay busy. And I can understand where Diaz is coming from, because if you have a fighter who's quite stagnant at long range and not changing his positioning, not giving different looks, and not even attempting to set up his shots, Diaz was obviously, he's trying to encourage him, use the straight shots to set up the power shots and get Rosado into position, threaten him with the straight shots and do it regularly. But Bektemir didn't seem to listen. He just has this, it's just a sheer over-reliance on this left hook to the body. And in the third round, he backed Rosado up into a corner, and he was, after 3 rounds of him darting in and out and landing the same punch, because even when he'd miss it, Rosado would get a chance to see how Bektemir was cocking that left hook to the body. So Rosado knew he's only gonna throw one thing, and Rosado did the right thing. He adjusted by throwing the correct punch, quite easily timed Bektemir Melikuziev and caught him with a very clean overhand right on the jaw, kind of under the ear a little bit. Very legal punch, very clean punch. And Bektemir went face first into the canvas. And it was really to be expected when you have such easy patterns. And that's essentially what Bektemir does. He fights in a pattern. He's in, out, darting in and out, which is easy to time. And on top of that, he's only throwing the same punch over and over again. So yeah, it's easy to time. And that's what Rosado did. Going into this fight, Rosado been around the block. His record was 25-13, 14 KOs, 1 no decision. But what does that tell you? That tells you that someone's experienced, especially when you consider that the people that Rosado has lost to. Rosado showed that he had the experience and the toughness, which is to be expected from Rosado. That's basically what you get when you watch him. He showed he had the experience and toughness to weather an early knockdown and then pick up on a pretty blatant pattern and then KO Melikuziev. Earlier this year, when the Melikuziev-Kovalev fight was announced, I thought it was bizarre, because even though Kovalev had seen better days and was coming off of a stoppage loss to Canelo, and a brutal stoppage loss at that, my assessment of Melikuziev was that he was very green, and it just seemed like, why would you do that? It's such a dangerous fight. It was crazy matchmaking in my opinion. But that being said, that was the Kovalev fight that was meant to be. I can understand why they pick Rosado for Melikuziev, however, because even though Rosado's tough and, he's a blood and guts warrior kind of guy, he isn't renowned for his power. He wasn't renowned for his power at light middleweight or middleweight, and much less at super middleweight. But despite that fact that Rosado isn't renowned for his power, he threw the right hand with quite good biomechanics, which is something I'm always harping on about. And Melikuziev essentially doubled the impact of that shot by rushing into the trajectory, the firing line of that shot, with no consideration for anything coming back. And he just allowed himself to get knocked out, essentially, because he fought a kamikaze mission, and he paid the price. So congratulations to Gabe Rosado, who moves onwards and upwards and will probably earn himself a headlining fight off the back of this, even though in recent years he hasn't really been short of an opportunity. He seems to be, and this is no disrespect, a bit of a punching bag for the champions, the former champions, and they kind of just bring him out when they need a good run around. I don't want to sell Gabe Rosado short. He seems like a very real guy. He's not a fake from what I've seen of him over the years. He knows what he is. He understands he's not the most talented, and he makes up for it by having toughness and grit, and he works hard. So he's by all means earned any opportunities off the back of this, and credit to him, man, because he does seem like a solid guy. So yeah, best of luck to him in whichever opportunity he gets next. Melikuziev, on the other hand, not a good look, because I believe the Kovalev fight was going to be at light heavyweight. So it might be the plan for Melikuziev to campaign at light heavyweight, even though this fight was at super middleweight. Not good look getting knocked out brutally by someone so much younger. Apologies, not younger, so much smaller. But he is only 25, and his record's now 7-1, so it's very, very early days. But he has to improve. He can't afford to make such massive errors and have such massive flaws in this amateurish style he has. He really has to up his game, but that's what learning fights are for. This proved to be, he proved to have bitten off a bit more than he can chew. But I think it's fair to say that Rosado did shock a fair few people, myself included. I saw that this fight was scheduled. I didn't know it was actually happening until I saw the weigh-in. I was like, oh wow, okay, I can understand why they're taking this fight. I didn't expect Rosado to do that. I thought he'd be the one getting starched in 3 rounds, but you know, boxing's a strange sport. So yeah, that's my assessment of this fight, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you like this video, thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs down. And if you like the channel, why not subscribe? So yeah, thank you for listening, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.